30 days ago, free iPhone users were voluntold to give up their iPhones for a little experiment. The goal was to figure out if all the issues that I ran into when I switched to an iPhone were just because of what I was used to, or if I had all those issues because Android is just plain that much better. So, to ensure they had the best possible experience, I gave them the choice of any flagship Android phone they want, and went on vacation, entrusting my minimum wage employee to guide them to the right choice. And you know what? I actually thought he did a really great job. That is, until I saw this. What the heck happened?
They all hate their Androids and they want their iPhones back, Linus.
We didn't even get a chance to offer them the special bonus yet. Surely there must have been something they liked about the Android experience.
Actually, there was. It turns out that in an ecosystem as diverse as Android, it's easy to find devices with unmatched strengths. However, in such a diverse ecosystem, you also don't have to go that far to find design choices that some consider to be unnatural. So there's gonna be a lot to say. I sat on this little prick. Oh, I guess that makes sense. I guess I did forget to tell you about dbrand and their overpriced stickers. Both Tynan, Lisa, and Andy all have the glow circuit skin on their phone, which we partnered with dbrand to collaborate and produce. It features a resin 3D printed design to give a little bit of grip, and of course, it glows in the flippin' dark. You can pick yours up today for your phone, game console, or laptop by heading to betterlttstore.com. There were three main areas our test subjects had feedback on: the switch, so transferring and setting up the device, the Android experience, and the phone experience, which is different because the physical phone you pick has a big impact on the experience of using Android. And we're actually gonna start with the switch, since that's what's first. Andy, you chose the Sony Xperia 1.5, but I couldn't help but notice during the month you had a Pixel 9 Pro. What actually happened?
The reason why I switched, mainly because I think this is like a engineering sample, so I can't really upgrade to like Android 15. Originally, I was like stuck at like 13.
During that transfer as well, one thing you mentioned you struggled with was text messages though. They ended up still going to your iPhone for the first little bit.
Right. Because my number was like attached to my iMessages. And because my wife and my, majority of the friends, like they all use like iPhone and stuff. So when they were sending text message, it automatically sent iMessages instead of SMS.
I see.
So I have to like unbung it.
Did any of you guys also experience that issue at all? Or was it right away working on your Android phone?
It did happen like once or twice the first day, and then I realized what happened. So,
okay.
But I had to like kind of unlink it from my iPad and from everything basically.
Got it.
I knew that I had to unlink it from my account before I started, so I didn't run into that issue.
One other experience you ended up talking to me about was you had an issue with languages on your phone.
Usually for all my devices, I set to like 2 languages, right?
Yeah.
So English as my primary. I set like the Mandarin on my Pixel as a secondary, and if I like talk to my Google Assistant in English, sometimes it replies in Mandarin. It's so random. Like sometimes like my Google Assistant like it's Mandarin speaking, sometimes my Google Assistant is like English speaking. I'm like, make up your mind.
So you guys didn't have to deal with the multi-languages, where you only had it set it in English. How was the other setting up and transferring to your phone? We'll start with Tynan.
For me, the switchover wasn't too bad. For the most part, it was pretty straightforward. I definitely had a little bit of finagling with trying to get the transfer via cable working. I think I ended up having to like unplug, replug, use different cables, restart both devices, and then it just worked.
Yeah, same. I mean, transferring over like data, like my images and things, was pretty straightforward. It was fine. Having to re-download all my apps was a real pain because obviously when I get a new phone and it's another iPhone, everything just comes with it. But when I'm switching over, I have to download it. I didn't download everything.
I see you making a face. Did you have to deal with that as well?
I noticed it as well. The thing that was weird for me was some things transferred over, some apps didn't. So I'd like go look for an app on my phone and be like, it's not here, but I see a bunch of other ones.
Did you guys have specific apps that just didn't work?
I had an issue with the app that I used to track my workouts. I couldn't sign into it because I didn't realize, but I had signed in with my iCloud. And so it meant that the app developers didn't have an option for me to sign in with my iCloud.
On the Android version of
On the
app.
Android version of the apps.
I did end up looking deeper into that as well. Developers don't include that sometimes because in their mind, if you're already using an Android, why would you be signing in with your iCloud account? Some apps have workarounds, such as adding an alternative sign-in, whether that's an email or maybe a different authentication. But if your app doesn't include that, you kind of get stuck. But overall, other than some of those kinks, I feel like the Switch honestly might have been our biggest highlight because it was quick and it's over with. How would you guys rate the Switch on a scale of 1 to 10?
I'd probably put it at like a 6 or a 7.
Okay.
I don't know, like maybe a 4. It was frustrating, but like
Okay.
doable.
Yeah.
I'll put it in middle, like 5-ish.
Now we're gonna move on to the hardware, which I think is where I actually got the most positive feedback from you guys. So we're gonna actually start with Andy. Did you switching over to the Pixel give you a better Android experience than the 1 week you had the Sony?
Yeah, like absolutely, especially for the camera. So the camera, I really do prefer this because I did take some comparison photo when we were in Disneyland. Actually on the iPhone and the
Okay,
Pixel, I
yeah.
did like A/B tests, and the iPhone looks way more processed than this guy.
Oh, okay.
Even for the video, like a lot of people say, oh, iPhone has the best like video functionality. Yes. But the iPhone video looks like a phone video. This more like an action cam. So overall, the camera wins on this.
And you mentioned the form factor of that when we were picking phones. Might have been a little big on the XL.
So I really prefer the battery life on this. So like end of the day, I still have like 50%. But like for this on Disneyland, like 10 a.m. I was charging. I still prefer the small size, but I like the big battery.
What was some negatives about the Google?
The screenshot. So on the iPhone,
Oh, I see Lisa reacting to this as well.
on the iPhone, I can just squeeze and then like, you know, I have my screenshot like taken. But for the Pixel, I have to do like a weird hand gesture doing this. Like, why is that?
I know Linus in his iPhone video, he actually had the exact same complaint because iPhone puts the volume rocker on the other side. It really is a personal preference which side you prefer the volume rocker on. You also had a different form factor. You can't put the volume button on your other side because that's where your hinge is. How was the form factor of a folding phone?
Barring the whole buttons on one side problem, I really liked having the form factor of the Fold. I really like having the additional screen real estate for going through emails, going through Teams messages, being able to get a larger image to be able to show to myself.
One thing you had a reaction to when we opened the phone the first time was the keyboard on the big screen.
I got fairly used to it, though I don't know if I would be able to blind type. When I was typing through with it open, I always found my eyes flitting between the two sides looking for where the keys are.
You got better with it, so it was more of just like a practice thing. Lisa, you also had a very big reaction when Andy brought up the screenshotting.
I'm supposed to somehow press these two together, and if I'm tiny and I've got big thumbs, that's okay. But that doesn't work for me. The other way you can do it is to put the palm of your hand or the heel of your hand across the screen. Like, seriously.
Yes.
Like, in what universe is that a sensible gesture? I'm always gonna have to use two hands.
Were you bothered by the crease at all on the folding phone? Because I know some people get really, they see them at a glance.
Yeah.
And they're like, why would you pick that? That there's a big crease in the
No,
middle.
I didn't mind that much. I know that some people, when they looked at it, that was the first thing they noticed, but it didn't really bother me.
And then the outside screen, obviously you have
Yeah.
a dual screen as well. Yours is
I
much
know.
smaller, doesn't
I think
actually work.
it's so cute. So when I had it sitting at my bedside at night, it was quite handy. It's just a little phone, and I used it for. I listened to books, audiobooks a lot, and I had the interface there. That was handy, and I just liked the fact that I didn't have to always open it to get key things.
But that is one of the most popular Android phones for women, and you brought up the exact reason why when we had our one-on-one. It actually
It's
fits
so
in pockets.
Dinky. Not only fits in hands, man.
Yeah.
Apart from the stupid button thing, but sorry, Samsung, but it is stupid. But like, yeah, I mean, this actually fits in pockets, and it fit in my bags, and it was just, I really like that.
Out of the phone choices you guys made, is there anything that was on that table that you would have preferred to pick, Or do you think there's something else you've heard of, whether it's not on that table? No, you wouldn't. You would have stuck with what you guys ended up with. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
No. Uh-oh.
I'll probably go for a fold.
Yes, you did actually have the Fold as his number one choice, but Tynan got to pick phones first. I want you guys to rate the form factor or just the phone experience you guys had.
I'd probably say 9 or 10.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'd say like purely on form, probably about an 8.
Okay.
7 or 8, yeah.
Cool.
I'll give a 7. Yeah.
Now we're going to get into probably why everyone clicked on this video, which is iPhone users trying Android. We're going to talk about Android. Tynan, even if we ignored, that weird split keyboard issue, you actually brought up another point with me, was that your keyboard felt like it changed sometimes.
Yeah, so context switching for the keyboards is a thing in Apple as well, but it seemed a lot more consistent depending on what type of app or UI I was in. One of the things I noticed with this one is if I was going to enter a password for a bank or something similar to that, the interface of the keyboard would change quite a bit. For a lot of things like emails, the context switching was pretty consistent, where I would be like, okay, I know I'm getting ats.
Another issue you told me was about the Android Auto or your car. What happened with your car? You couldn't use it.
I have a 2014 that does have forward sync or Microsoft Sync. It didn't work if I connected through a USB cable, regardless what the settings on my phone were. I ended up having to connect it to Bluetooth, which with my iPhone, I didn't have to do that because it just treated my car like an audio output device. Once I got used to it, having it hooked up to Bluetooth was actually pretty nice. And I think if I switched back, I would hook my iPhone up to Bluetooth too.
Oh, okay.
So then I don't have to connect it via cable.
Yeah.
Android Auto is actually my highlight of the Pixel.
Okay.
It's actually great. This split screen on the Apple CarPlay, the border on Android Auto is actually a lot slimmer. And also you can basically have the map proportion a lot bigger than your media control. And then you can swap sides if you want. But on the iPhone, on the CarPlay side, you just stuck. You stuck with half of your screen being the map and half of the screen being the media control. And the second thing is, if you're using Google Map, like myself, my car, for example, if you're using CarPlay, it doesn't really display navigation on your head-up display.
Okay. Like by
If
the
you're
speedometer and everything
using,
else.
if you're using like Google Map on the iPhone, but on the Android Auto, since the Google Map is the default map app, then I can have my navigation on my head-up display. That is A+.
Okay. Now we're 2 cars down. Your last car here. Did you have any positives with Android Auto?
I did actually. I didn't have to choose where I was going as a route and start it for it to estimate how long it was going to take. With my iPhone, I have to actually say, right, I'm going to work, start, and it'll go, okay, 35 minutes.
Got it. You could kind of get an estimate
So I can get an
beforehand,
estimate.
and
Is
then-
it worth going to work? Should I just go home?
Do you have RGB lights at home? Because you mentioned you have smart home stuff.
I specifically picked Meta Support one just so I can integrate it into my HomeKit, but none of them work.
Okay.
They show up and on my iPhone, HomeKit, trying to connect, connection failed. But like on the Android side, it's like everything just connect like magically. They're not only like easier to use, they're also cheaper. A lot cheaper than all the Meta support, all the HomeKit support stuff.
Oh, okay. So the Apple tax does exist. Well, paying for that Apple tax might be a benefit because then you don't get ads in your news feed, Andy.
Exactly. Oh my God.
You, like week 1, you came up to me and were so upset that when you swipe left on the home screen, you get the Android newsfeed that you can navigate and see articles. And you were so bothered because they showed ads.
Home screen, if I just swipe, first one is fine, second one is fine, third one is ad. And if I go in here and then block ad, and no, like if I refresh, another ad.
But it's a different ad.
It's a different ad.
From the same company.
From the same company. So for iPhone, if I swipe, the Apple News doesn't really contain any ad.
Well, you guys mentioned having to swipe left to the newsfeed. One of Android's things you can pick from when you set up the phone is gestures. So you could either have the 3 buttons at the bottom for your menu, your home, or your back, or using swipe actions. What were some problems you had with gestures?
Really annoyed me because I was in my Chrome, and I couldn't go back. I was like, how do I do this? I couldn't even tell you how it works on my iPhone because I don't notice it. And it's only whenever it doesn't work that I do notice it. And then I realized, okay, so I have to make this decision between whether buttons or gestures. So I chose then to go buttons, because then I could actually see what was happening. But then my gestures wouldn't work. It just really annoyed me.
Why do you think you don't notice the gestures on iPhone?
What I think it is that they have spent an awful lot of time figuring out what is the most intuitive UX here. It's because even whenever something new comes, I can figure it out. I actually handed my phone to one of my colleagues and was like, can you show me how to go back a page in this? And she's like, I don't know. If I can't work it out in a couple of steps, that to me isn't intuitive. I don't know how to do it immediately, but I should be able to figure out how to do it.
It's funny you bring that up because all of you almost brought up the same exact issue related in the Gmail app about switching between multiple inboxes, because compared to Apple, it's all right there in one inbox, or it's within 1 or 2 clicks to be able to switch to a more focused view.
Weirdly enough, for me, Apple Mail is just a very good app with a very easy to migrate system for going through all of your main inboxes. And then if you need to go into more detail for each mailbox, you can get there pretty quickly. And after a while, I got more used to it. But at the start, I missed clicking the mail app, seeing my 3 mailboxes. How many things unread do I have?
And then you showed me, sorry to interrupt, but you showed me the where I can click through the different ones.
The little icon in the search bar.
But it wasn't intuitive. Like, how am I supposed to know that there's one little icon that
doesn't have any sort of
that has
action
no
or anything.
action associated with it?
Yeah, because you actually also brought that point up even for the camera button on
my
the lock
gosh.
screen.
Yeah.
It looks like a button,
It
so
looks
you'd
like a
go to
button.
click it and nothing
And
would
you
happen.
go to click it. To me, if you want somebody to swipe, you do something that makes it look like it's a swipe. It's a meme that we've all learned. If something is wrong, you press it.
Yeah.
You know?
I actually like the gesture on the Android, especially for the being able to go back if you swipe left. Especially like for a larger phone that I have, swiping left to go back is very handy.
Something I noticed with at least my phone, swiping either direction goes back.
Oh,
Which is
gosh.
nice, but also annoying. It's a double-edged sword, because some of the times I really liked being able to do that, but then other times I would swipe back and be like, oh, I need to go to the page that I just backed on. And I couldn't.
Oh, that would drive me mental.
One thing all 3 of you brought to me that was a positive, which is more limited to Android, was fast charging, being able to see how much battery is left on the screen, how fast it's gonna take to get to 100%.
I actually went on a business trip. Sounds so fancy. But I went on a work trip to Paris for a week with 2 colleagues who both had iPhones, and they had their like little battery packs with them and everything. And my phone was always completely full, not completely full, but it was fine by the end of the day. But they were sharing the battery packs and everything. So that was amazing. Now, it could have been because this is a brand new phone and they've had theirs for a little while.
Yeah.
So I won't discount that, but yeah, I never had to worry about it.
The fact that like when I'm plugging in, it shows like if I'm like just charging or fast charging, that's awesome. Cause like for iPhone, like you plug it in, you don't really know how fast it's charging, and you don't really know how long it'll take your phone to charge. I know, okay, 11 a.m. I can take my phone away with a full battery, but my iPhone, I just pray.
Spray.
One other battery note that I had, while I was using it, after I want to say a week or something like that, it gave me a prompt to say, do you want to make 80% your max charge?
Oh.
Got it.
And I turned that on.
Yeah.
I didn't really notice that I was running out of battery pretty much ever,
Got it. So
which is a notable improvement over my iPhone.
you mentioned AirDrop. I'm going to address every comment here that said Quick Share. Did any of you get to try Quick Share on Android?
Quick share, I'd be able to like send images and stuff like between the Pixel and the Sony, no problem.
Yeah.
But since I'm a Mac user, if I'm like using a PC, for example, I can't really send message or just overall picture to my PC or my Mac without installing a software.
When you work in images like I do, you do use AirDrop a lot.
Yeah.
I use it multiple times a day, whereas I need to be able to send something from my iPhone to my iPad, possibly move that from my Mac, from my MacBook, and then on to, sometimes I use my MacBook along with my iMac. Sometimes I will use even the handoff, so I'll copy something from one of them and I'll paste it into something else in an email. And I couldn't do that.
And that's the biggest thing that goes into AirDrop is actually it's part of the bigger ecosystem called continuity, which allows you to have your AirPods, again, connect to multiple devices and switch seamlessly. and AirDrop is part of that family. And so when you lose that, it can feel like you miss out on a lot of extra things as well. So we're gonna rate Android out of 10. 5 puts this on par with your iOS experience. 10, it was better. 1, it was worse. How would you rate Android?
Overall, probably 6.
Okay, little bit better.
Yeah, some things were better, some things I missed, but I got used to them relatively quickly.
Got it,
For the AirDrop, I think I would take it down a notch from 5 and say 4.
got it.
Out of 10, my Android experience is probably 4. Because like I can used to Android if I'm not in the ecosystem. It's a great phone, but overall, like the ecosystem is just too good to be, jump out.
I think that's what it is. I think taken as a standalone, it was perfectly fine and it worked perfectly well. But essentially what I have with my iPhone is part of a modular system. And if you try and shoehorn anything into a part of a designed modular system that is designed to work together, it's not going to work as smoothly.
And I feel like that kind of leads into our conclusion here. It's a bit tough to come down to just the personal devices. But at the end of the day, did any of you feel that using Android would be impossible if suddenly the iPhone just failed to exist tomorrow?
Absolutely
No.
not.
No,
Right?
No.
But tolerating something isn't the same as enjoying it. So there was actually a little secret at the end of part 1. I don't know if you guys watched the part 1 video all the way through. When we kicked off this challenge, Linus actually mentioned that he had a special offer.
When the 30 days is up, I will present them with a second trade offer. You receive the Android you picked, I receive your iPhone.
Forever.
Do any of you want to take him up on that offer and trade in your iPhone forever, and you'll get to keep the Android phone that you picked? Why or why not? Lisa's already shaking her head no. Andy's already shaking his head no. But my understanding, it wasn't as easy as a decision as you thought it would be.
It wasn't. I really liked the actual little phone. They were both great phones. They both do what they're supposed to do, and they both do them very, very well. And it's just those subtleties of like your own personal life, and my life needs the things that the iPhone can do.
There you go. So Lisa's out. Andy?
So I'm gonna switch back to my iPhone, but I do prefer all the form factor that you can get on the Android side.
I do want to stay with this phone. The main pain points that I had switching over were mostly the switchovers. My family probably has some other thoughts because I broke all of our iMessage chats.
Oh,
But-
yes, group chats. We got one. I think that was actually exactly what Linus predicted. He said that he believed you would switch over and you two wouldn't.
I predict that Andy and Lisa are going to stick with iPhone, and Tynan, the already Android curious user, is going to stick with Android.
But I think he immediately ruled you guys out right away. So it was kind of nice to see that there was some decision making that went into it. It wasn't just, no, I don't want to try.
Linus, you have little faith. My goodness.
You know what I really like?
Oh, yeah.
A foldable iPhone.
This one.
Call it the
But
iPhold with a PH. Sorry. Well, no matter what device they ended up with here today, our friends over at dbrand had them covered. Not only do they make skins for a wide variety of devices, but they also have cases. The Grip case offers incredible drop protection while also having an incredibly grippy texture to make it tough to drop in the first place, like Linus. And their Ghost case is clear with a 100% guarantee of never turning yellow. They are so confident in that they claim you will die before it does. That's kind of a grim thing to say. Or you can take them up on their lifetime free replacement warranty. Check them out at betterlttstore.com. If you guys enjoyed this video, go check out when Linus switched to iPhone from Android. He had some positives to say, but he also had quite a lot of gripes with it.